You best watch out for LSU. They don't usually sneak up on people in the SEC, but they might be sneaking up on some folks right now. The man with the silkiest voice at this network, Matt Moscona, locked on LSU, joining me here on the show. Matt, what did you make of that game? Because my takeaway was, wait, if Garrett Nussmeier cannot play his best football till the fourth quarter and you still beat a really good Ole Miss team, who can't you beat?
That's a good question. I think the bigger storyline is actually the other side of the ball. Remember, it was this game a year ago where LSU allowed 55 points and 700 yards, which was a record for of shame, of infamy for LSU defensively. But I think what's maybe most impressive is when they had to get stops, they did. I mean, 6 sacks, 9 TFLs, 11 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, and interception. That's probably what this team is defensively. Like, they're not great defensively, but they're opportunistic and they can create havoc, which creates some negative plays. If the defense can play like that, the offense is good enough to score on anybody. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Spencer. Like, they're capable of beating anybody. But the flip side is also, and if you're Ole Miss and you woke up Sunday, you're thinking, how did we lose that game?
Man.
So the point being that if you're LSU, yeah, you're capable of beating anybody, but you're just as capable of going to lose to Arkansas this weekend.
Yeah, and Arkansas, ask Tennessee how easy of a place that is to play. I think the Razorbacks are a pretty good team. Like, they've got 2 losses on the year, and they should only have 1. In one of their losses, they went on the road and put up over 600 yards of offense, and much like Ole Miss in this game, to your point, Matt, woke up the next day going, did we lose that football game? Like, how did that happen? And I think Sam Pittman's team has proved a lot of people wrong. I think the upset meter, the emotional letdown factor is 100% in play for LSU in this matchup. But one of the reasons that I like the Tigers more and more, and when they lost week 1 to USC, Matt, my takeaway on the show at the time was, look, this stings if you're LSU, but Nussmeier is that guy. He is ready, and if you figure out a couple other things, I think they'll be all right. They've got a tough schedule coming down the stretch, but one reason that I'm not going to look at LSU and focus on the shortcomings is because Garrett Nussmeier, I am just bullish on how good that guy is. He makes the biggest throws in the biggest moments, and it seems like that's when he's playing his best football.
Yeah, man. He's starting to pop up in a lot of mock drafts as a first-round pick, too.
And he should.
I asked Brian Kelly on Monday about the touchdown pass at the end of regulation that tied it. Because think about this, Spencer. That wasn't like 2nd and 10 in the first quarter. That was 4th and 5 with 30 seconds to go. You don't get 5 yards, the game is over. He didn't just dial up a check down to get 5 yards and keep the sticks moving, keep the game alive. He went to his 3rd progression and threw Aaron Anderson open. By the way, Aaron Anderson, who was bracketed in double coverage, and if you go watch the end zone shot, Garrett threw to a spot. He was not throwing to it wasn't like, hey, dude's open, waving his hands in the end zone. I mean, that's not exactly a high percentage play, but he's fearless. He's got what I kind of call athletic arrogance. You know what I mean? Like he's got the arm, he knows it. And so sometimes he'll make those, he'll challenge himself and others. But he's been awesome, man, on an LSU team that has surprisingly struggled to run the football. They have made up for it because he's been that good, man. And he struggled in the first half. My goodness, he made up for it in the second half of that ball game. He was great.
Yeah, a big win, and LSU has not lost an SEC game, by the way, but they start with Arkansas this week, then they go at Texas A&M before they have a bye to come back home and host Alabama. Then it's at Florida, host Vandy, and host Oklahoma. I feel pretty good about LSU in those last 3 games, but it's the next 3, Matt, where you go, boy, yeah. that's kind of a gauntlet there. It's a show me what you're made of. It's show me. Was Ole Miss just you finding some home field magic at Death Valley at night with a couple of good plays and you needed a couple 4th down conversions, and Ole Miss was probably the better team for 3.9 quarters of this football game, and yet LSU won? Is it going to be that, or is it going to be, hey, LSU is actually that good of a football team? I think 2-1 in the next 3 games is a really good outcome for LSU and gives them a chance to control their own destiny to get to probably the SEC championship game, but also the college football playoff.
Really? SEC, you think well, I guess they're 2-1, they'd be a one-loss SEC team, so that could make sense.
Correct.
Yeah, if they go 2-1 in the next 3, I agree with you. I think they'll win their last 3 games. But you know what's interesting about the next 3? Bama might feel the least scary, maybe because it's at home, but also because of how they're playing. You know, one thing about this Arkansas game, and I don't know how many people outside of these two fan bases really understand this, but it's a weird paradigm. Arkansas fans view LSU as like a fierce rival. LSU doesn't really care about this game. So it's one of those things where you're always going to get Arkansas's best, and Arkansas's always played this game in what has been a pretty natural letdown spot for LSU, which happens again. Go look at this series. Go back to Arkansas coming in the league. There's 2 times where LSU has gone to Fayetteville and just run the Hogs out of the building. Once was in like 96. The other was 2016 where they won 38-10. That was a miserable Arkansas team. But even bad Arkansas teams give LSU problem. And I agree with you, Spencer. I think this is a good Arkansas team. So, yes, this Saturday, I think, is kind of terrifying because it is 100% a letdown spot after an emotional win. You got to go on the road against a team that's coming off a bye, who views you as a rival, who had a week to get healthy and game plan for you. This is a really, really sticky spot for LSU.
Yeah, and they're only favored by a field goal, Matt. So Vegas knows, you're not going to go in here and just get out and roll. Quick glance at that game in Fayetteville. What's the number one thing LSU has to do to walk out with a win?
Force turnovers. I don't know if Taylor Green's going to play. So you mentioned earlier Arkansas should have won one of those games. You were talking about Oklahoma State.
Yeah, against Oklahoma State.
Remember the A&M game? Like, if
they won
protect the football, they should have beaten A&M in Arlington, but they never beat A&M in Arlington for that reason. But Taylor Green's been really good this year, but his inability to protect the football, and then LSU has been really good, as we just talked about creating havoc and getting takeaways. So if LSU goes to Arkansas, wins the turnover battle, I think they'll win the football game. But that's the one to watch. The other part of that too, Spencer, is watch Taylor Green. He injured his knee at the end of the Tennessee game. Remember, he didn't finish that game.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Pittman said on Monday that they think he's going to go, but he's day to day. If he's limited, I mean, a big part of Taylor Green's game is his athleticism, his ability to create with his feet. If he's not available or limited, that really changes the total dynamic of this game as well.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, they have designed quarterback runs in that offense. Bobby Petrino, a lot of success with running quarterbacks in the past. It's one of the reasons Arkansas, I think, has taken off this year. And, I didn't see that much of a change from KJ Jefferson to Taylor Green. Neither one's a phenomenal passer. They're big guys, capable runners. But to Bobby Petrino's credit, that's clearly the right move because the Golden Knights in the Big 12 are struggling right now, a little bit of a letdown team, and Arkansas is one of the most surprising teams in all of college football right now. So should be a really, really fun football game. And, boy, Arkansas at home off a bye. You could just say that out loud, and that should be enough to scare lots of people out there.
Also, as a fan, Arkansas is the worst trip in the SEC. Arkansas and Florida, the 2 worst. The armpit and the butt crack of the SEC. Take the pick. It's Arkansas and it's Gainesville. They're the worst.
The smooth tones of Matt Moscona, locked on LSU. Matt, appreciate it.
Okay, man.